You're listening to Everyday Engineering, the City of Madison's engineering podcast where we talk about infrastructure. Complex topics explained simply, from the water that flows down your drain to the rain and snow that drains into the lakes. By way, the curbs and streets we design. City engineering touches your life in so many ways. Explained right now in Everyday Engineering. GreenPower is our City of Madison engineering program where we teach someone with little to no electrical experience how to install solar panels, among many other things. The program is very successful, impactful, and has even pushed our city to share the program internationally. It's a massive win for our division, a tremendous win for our city, and even more of a sustainable win for our community. My name is Hannah Mohelnitzky, City of Madison Engineering Division Public Information Officer, and here to tell us more today about GreenPower and everything sustainability is City Engineering Master Electrician Matt Parks and City Sustainability Coordinator Stacie Reece. Hello, both. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're going to have some fun today. So we may have, 3 different listeners on this podcast episode. So when I was thinking about how we're going to tackle this episode and get the most out of it, thinking, okay, who's listening to this episode? There might be 3 different kind of general groups. A possible future GreenPower trainee wondering, how can I get involved? A municipal leader who wants to try something like this in their community. And then someone just curious about solar, because we hear solar, we hear the word sustainability, we hear all of these different terms, and we kind of want to break down what they mean for anybody who's just not familiar with it. So first, when we say solar, what exactly does that mean to both of you? And I guess, Matt, from an installation and operations standpoint, and then Stacie, an overall city goal perspective. Who wants to take it first?
I'll start. So basically, the GreenPower program in solar energy is a way to collect energy sustainably, not using fossil fuels. And it's something that is, once you install the system, you're done basically, and it's going to pay you back with the energy it makes for 20 to 30 years.
Okay, Stacie?
Well, in regards to the city's goals, we set our goal in 2017 for 100% renewable energy and net zero carbon. We were the first city in Wisconsin and about the 25th across the country to set that goal. And it seemed at the time to be pretty ambitious, but we really wanted to align ourselves with the scientific community's overwhelming consensus around climate change. So since then, we've been joined with several other cities throughout Wisconsin, 165 nationwide, and now the governor's executive order declaring 100% carbon-free electricity. So now it's not even ambitious anymore, it's doable. So where solar fits in is really how the technology's developed. So if you think about it, it's led to widespread adoption, and then what's caused that is really the price to drop. So for distributed PV, which we're talking about today, the solar module costs have dropped 89% since 2010. So for the city, it just makes complete sense to do rooftop and use the land that we have to install solar.
And when we say PV, we mean solar panels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for anyone who's
photovoltaic,
listening.
yeah.
Yes. And any other solar buzzwords that we can just kind of get out of the way right now so that people know what we're talking about. Yeah. So we say modules, we say PV, we say, what do people need to know? PV equals solar panels. What other words?
There's 3 basic technologies out there. The one that the city's involved in with the GreenPower is solar electric, which is the panel that absorbs sunlight and makes electricity. We also have solar hot water collectors, and the sunshine basically heats water that heats the potable water for our buildings. And then the last is solar hot air, which basically, like your car in the wintertime, if it's sitting in the sun, the car is really warm, we use that air to heat our buildings.
Okay.
And that's called the solar trifecta, right?
Absolutely.
Or hat tip. We haven't decided yet.
I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot. And when you said a lot of things, Stacie, like carbon, I can't remember what you were saying. You were saying modules, you say PV. What other terms, just so that people understand what we're talking about as we move forward?
I guess to speak to our goals, we say 100% renewable energy. What does that mean? It means all of our energy that we consume is from renewable sources. And when we say net carbon, it's really talking about the emissions from that consumption of energy. So when we consume energy, it releases greenhouse gas emissions. And so we would need to look at those emissions and bring ourselves down to a net zero
perfect. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. I'm just like, let's break it down, keep it simple, and that is awesome. So now when you're listening to this, you know what we are talking about. Okay, GreenPower, next. It's our city program helping people learn electrical skills they may not have, or that maybe they have, maybe they've dabbled, but they want to learn more and they're really eager to learn more. And essentially, this program sets them up for a potential career in solar or even here at the city. So Matt, you work with our trainees to install, share with our listeners what they can expect once they apply and are maybe hired as trainees.
Okay, sure. The program will start with basic electrical safety. We put all our trainees through OSHA 10, which is a construction safety class. We teach basic solar electricity and basic electrical theory. So they get the basics of how that all works, and then they see everything from procurement of the parts to installation to commissioning. And this last year we did 3 systems. So the trainees basically got to work through 3 different types of systems to get a wide variety of how to install solar electric.
And the trainees are always busy. You are always busy, always installing, and always, up on the roofs and making sure that they're, knowledgeable and safe. I guess for anybody kind of thinking, maybe teetering on applying, can you kind of share a little bit more? What can they expect?
Well, it's work. It's construction work outside, so it is hot. When the sun is shining, it's hot on the roof, and you're out there doing it. There is inside work. We also have sustainability projects where we do relights for fire stations and police stations and city buildings like that. So there is interior work as well, especially in the winter. Our program is now going to go to year-round instead of just being 6 or 9 months long. So we're going to be, they'll get all aspects. They'll learn how to strip wire and make connections and bend conduit and start to learn basically how fusing and all the electrical technical stuff works.
And the conduit you mean is the tube that holds the wires, right?
That's exactly right.
I am married to an electrician as well, so a little bit of this is familiar for me, but I always remember asking, what does that mean? And all of the things if you're not always doing it or using it. So that's really helpful. So you're doing inside, outside, you're busy, and you're busy because the city has these goals. So Stacie, do you want to talk a little bit more about I guess as a whole, what are we trying to do here? We're ramping it up. We're expanding GreenPower. What is going on here at the City of Madison?
Yeah, which is awesome that we're ramping this up because, not only with the solar installations and now the energy efficiency retrofits in the wintertime help us meet our renewable energy and carbon goals, but we're also have goals at the city around clean water, clean air. We have goals around equitable workforce development, which GreenPower definitely hits on. And then we have goals around the health and wellness of our residents in our community. So, solar hits on all of these, and I think that's why it's so exciting that we're ramping this up.
Yeah.
I'd like to add a little too as well. There are 3 basic paths that you would get as a trainee if you come to the city. One is become a solar installer through an electrical apprenticeship, which basically would give you would have a specialty and experience in solar and in electrical, which would help you apply and become an apprentice. You could also be exposed to different agencies in the city and maybe go work for water or for parks or for Metro or some other entity. And then the third one is just, basically get yourself enough knowledge to know and be a better consumer of electricity, to understand the reason we do renewable energy, because it's good for the earth, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to just continue to expand that. So there's it's the only type of power production that'll pay you back. If you put the system in, it immediately starts making electricity, which has value, and it doesn't stop. So it can go 20, 30 years. There's systems that I've been involved with up north that are 40 years old and still producing 80% of their power.
Wow, that's a lot of power.
That's cool.
Yes. Megawatt, reaching that goal,
Yep.
What does that mean for us?
As far as numbers go, the city now has 2.5% of its building electric use provided now by solar power, by that 1 megawatt of solar power. And that solar production offsets roughly about 950 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year,
Wow.
which is the equivalent of emissions of an average passenger vehicle driving 2.3 million miles.
Yeah.
So not only that, but we're also now going to be saving money on our utility bills. And so it just makes a lot of sense for us as well.
Yes, and if we save money at the city, the taxpayers also save money, so
Right.
everyone wins,
Yep.
including the environment as well. It is pretty amazing seeing our GreenPower program and our staff, and then seeing these numbers and seeing, we're getting electric buses, we're doing all of these different things to be greener and better and just more sustainable. If somebody is looking for information on how to approach solar, what are some good resources you've come across for, especially, I think a lot of people wonder about residential installation. And so I guess, there's different ways from an installations perspective, and there's also like programs out there I know too. So let's talk about both.
So the thing to know is if since it's a popular thing that's growing in interest, if you Google solar, you can get all kinds of information. Google Project Sunroof is a site that you can type your address in, and it'll give you an approximation of how much sunlight is available at your roof.
Wow.
And so it's rough, but it gets you in the ballpark. You can always call local contractors that do this for a living. They've been around a long time. They're going to be around a long time. So it's something that you can trust what they're going to say.
That's important because everybody's trying to pitch solar right now. So going to someone reputable and really understanding and having them understand and be able to be trustworthy is huge.
Yeah, and so that's why I say I would make sure that it's somebody that's been around a while that has said, hey, we've done this many systems, and we can put you in touch with our customers.
Sure.
The Midwest Renewable Energy Association up in Custer, Wisconsin is an excellent resource as well. They have all kinds of training. They do training in Custer by Stevens Point. They'll even bring training down to Madison. And it's everything from just basically how it works to how to do a site assessment to actually start the basics of installation. So those are three.
Those are nice little nuggets of information, Matt. Stacie.
Yeah, so the City of Madison, we've had a residential group buy program since 2016 called Madison, and that's spelled with an S-U-N. And this program actually pulls together households to get those economies of scale, so we can get a deal on rooftop solar for our community while receiving assistance from Renew Wisconsin, who administers the program, and navigating the installation process, which can be really, really complicated. And then also going through a trusted solar developer. So Matt mentioned before, there's a lot of solar developers out there. Who do you go with? This program actually puts out a competitive bid for a solar developer to be selected for this program. So this program has helped over 100 Madison area homes install solar, and it makes it easy to sign up at madisonsolar.com.
And a bid, for anybody who's unaware of what a bid is, it's basically a plan of how much and how long it's going to take you to complete a project. So when they put out a bid, they put it out, they say, this is what we need done, this is who can do it for me for the cheapest, and who can do it for me in the quickest amount of time, so the bang for your buck, and then that's how you select.
And they should also be able to say that person giving you the bid should also be able to say, this is your return on investment, this is, with this much investment, this is how much you should make and how long it should take to pay back.
Perfect. These are all terms that if you're not thinking it, you're not in it, you're not in engineering division or working in construction or anything. Sometimes it just goes woohoo over the head. It did for me for a long time until I asked a million questions. So hopefully they're just listening to this podcast episode and they don't have to ask a million questions. If people want to apply to be a part of GreenPower, who should they call? Should they email? When are we taking applications? I guess, does it come in waves? How does that work, Matt?
So we're actually talking about rolling that out earlier than we usually do. Usually we would put the job posting out in January. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to do that a little earlier because now we are hiring earlier. Mm-hmm. So it would be on the city website.
So keep checking that website is what I'm hearing from you.
Yes, and realize that with anything that is going to be a career or a long-term goal, it can take a year or two to get an apprenticeship. So it may be that if you have an applicant that's very, very interested and they don't get selected this year, they should stick around. We have opportunities when our trainees get hired away from the city or to a different department of the city that we need to replace that trainee. So it could instead of the job starting in say February, it could start in May. So it's good to keep that constant connection and keep talking.
And that's really a goal. We want to keep, trainees if we can, in the city, and we want that, that payoff. We work with the trainees for so long, and it would be nice to be able to keep them. Obviously, can't keep everyone, but if it's possible, we try to make sure that there's a nice path for people. I guess. Next question, as we kind of wrap up here, and we'll hit a little bit more on the sustainability chunk of this. But internationally, Matt, you've taken this program to Puerto Rico. Yes, I said Puerto Rico, and you've gone twice. Twice now to teach in Toa Baja. So what do you mean when you go to, what do you do? What is Toa Baja? And tell us a little bit about your experience and how that even came to be.
Sure. Through an association of the mayors. The mayor from Madison met the mayor from Toa Baja shortly after they had their Category 5 hurricane come through, and the mayor from Toa Baja came to Madison to see what we're doing here, and he actually went and we talked to him about GreenPower and how we train city people to do the work installing electrical and solar electrical on our buildings, and he said, well, would you come down and do that in Toa Baja? And I was like, well, sure, why not? Let's do it in February.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And lo and behold, he went back, talked to his people there in Toa Baja, which is on the northern coast, kind of west of San Juan. And we went down through the MREA and through the Couillard Solar Foundation, basically installed a system on their community center and trained, I think it was 12 of their city staff. There was, I think, 4 people from their technical college that were learning to be electricians. The next year, we went back again, and we put battery systems on the system that we installed in the year before, and then put a battery system on their police department, which was out of power for something like 60 or 90 days or something like that after the hurricane.
Wow.
One of the people that was in the training the first year actually got hired on as an electrician to their city. So they saw a direct result from that training. Basically we're trying to give them the skills so that they can help themselves and further the ability of their city to basically provide electricity for themselves, because there's going to be hurricanes in Puerto Rico in the next years. So it's good to be prepared.
I feel like that's kind of like the essence of, solar as a whole, GreenPower. We're trying to teach people so that, they can help themselves, and they can, make sure, like in Toa Baja, that they can, provide their solar, knowledge and their skills there. We're trying to teach them. We're also trying to teach our community, do solar. Solar will then provide for itself after a while, which is a really beautiful thing, and it's really wonderful on your wallet after a while. We're getting there, though, with the price to install solar. It's definitely much more common now. So hopefully it's not as expensive as it used to be when it was really brand spanking new. But this is a really unique program, and it makes our city look wonderful. But it is wonderful also. So I guess as we wrap up, last question, what about our larger sustainability goals? We'll get to what's next for GreenPower, but from a sustainability perspective, what is next? What are our larger goals? What do we want? Break it down for us as we wrap up, Stacie.
Well, we still got to get to that 100%, so we're going to keep Matt busy for the next few years.
But 100% of our buildings are running off of renewable energy?
That's the goal. Yep, by 2030, yeah. And so, the City of Madison has other sustainability goals around transportation, health and wellness, education. And we actually adopted our first Madison sustainability plan in early 2012. So it's been a while, right? And a lot has changed since then. So it's really due for an update. And our Sustainable Madison Committee that's tabled by elders and residents of the community are working on that. They have a working group set up. They just had their first couple meetings. They're going to dive into those 10 chapters of the sustainability plan, and they're going to review those goals and actions that were laid out and see what we've accomplished, see what we've done in the last decade or so. and then identify where we need to prioritize going forward. So I really see this update as being a catalyst for the next decade of sustainability actions across the greater Madison community. So stay tuned.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
And then what about GreenPower? What's next? What's next?
Yeah, well, we're gonna basically double our crews for 2021. Both where the plan is to install about 500 kilowatts next year and the following. And then to reach our sustainability goal, we would basically have to go to a megawatt a year. And of course, this would involve contractors as well as GreenPower, because that's a lot of work. And the interesting thing about that is that as we do this, instead of $5 a watt installation, which was something even a couple of years ago, we just did ours at I think it was $1.50 a watt.
What does that mean?
That means that the price for installation is coming way down, so that shortens the time that it takes to return your cost of your return on investment.
Yeah, because
we're going to be growing.
Right. I feel like, because we're looking at solar possibly for our home, and, that, maybe even a few years ago, it used to be, so daunting. Like, oh, you don't get the payoff until how long, when you have solar, because it used to be really, really expensive to install it up front, and then you don't get the payoff for, a decade or 2 decades. But that's great to hear that the price is going down so that we can all afford it. We can all get on board. We can all be a part of a solution.
Go solar.
Yeah, go solar.
Go solar. Okay, so hopefully you learned a few things. You learned about GreenPower. You learned about some resources. If you have any other questions about this topic or want to connect with us on any other topics, click over to the City of Madison Engineering Facebook and Twitter, because we are always here for you every day in engineering.